LeetCode problem 682, baseball game. You're keeping the score of a baseball game with strange rules. At the beginning of the game you start with an empty record. You are given a list of string operations where operations I is the ith operation you must apply to the record, and if one of the following: an integer x, record a new score of x, plus, record a new score that is the sum of the previous two scores, D, record a new score that is double of the previous score, and C, invalidate the previous score, removing it from the record. Return the sum of all of the scores on the record after applying the operations. The test cases are generated such that all answers and all immediate calculations fit a 32-bit integer and that all operations are valid. The approach that we're taking is the stack data structure approach. It has a time complexity of O of n and a space complexity of O of m, and it's the optimal solution to this problem. Now let's walk through the example. We're given ops is equal to 5, 2, c, d and plus. Step 1. Create an empty stack. Step 2. Loop over ops applying the following logic. If the operation is plus, sum the score of the previous two records, and this can be achieved like so. If operation is D, add the new score, double the previous. If the operation is C, remove the previous record from the stack. Else, convert the value to an int and add it to the stack. Step 3. Sum all of the values of the stack. So let's start. So operation is equal to 5. So this if condition is not true. Operation is not equal to plus. Operation is not equal to D. Operation is not equal to C. So pass operation, which is 5, and add 5 to the stack. Now let's go to the next operation, which is 2. 2 is not equal to plus, so we'll skip that. 2 is not equal to D, so let's skip that. 2 doesn't equal C, we'll skip that. Pass the 2, and then push it to the stack. Now we'll go to the next operation, which is C. C is not equal to plus, so we skip that. C does not equal D, so we skip this. C does equal C, so what we want to do now is we want to pop the stack, removing the 2 from the stack. Now the next operation is the D, which does not equal plus, so we skip that. D does equal D, so what we want to do now is we want to take the top item of the stack, times it by 2, so 5 times 2 is 10, and push that to the stack. Now the final operation, which is a plus, so we want to go into here, so we pop the stack and we'll store 10 against V1. We then pop the stack again and we'll store the 5 next to V2. Then we want to push V2, which is 5, back onto the stack. We'll do the same with V1, so push 10 back onto the stack. And then we want to push 5 plus 10 back onto the stack, so we push 15 onto the stack. Then we come down and we declare a sum equal to 0, and then while the stack is not empty, do sum plus stack pop, so sum plus 15 plus 10 plus 5 equals 30. And then step 4, return the sum of 30. And that is exactly what we wanted. Well, thank you very much for watching this video, it's as easy as that. Why not pause the video and try to implement a solution yourself? If not, stay tuned for my solution next. LeetCode problem 682, baseball game, in Java. You are keeping the scores for a baseball game with strange rules. At the beginning of the game, you start with an empty record. You are given a list of strings, operations, where operations I is the ith operation you must apply to the record and is one of the following. An integer x. In this scenario, you want to record a new score of x. Plus, if this is the operation, you want to record a new score that is the sum of the previous two scores. D, record a new score that is the double of the previous score. And C, invalidate the previous score, removing it from the record. Return the sum of all of the scores on the record after applying all the operations. The test cases are generated such that the answer and all intermediate calculations fit a 32-bit integer, and that all operations are valid. Example 1. We're given the following input, and the output is going to be 30. And the reason for that is, if we look at the input against the rules, so we've got example 1, so we've got the 5, so we add 5, which is the rule just above here, which is this record new score x, so we add the 5. Then we add the 2, then the C, so invalidate the previous, so remove the 2. Then we go to D, which is double the 5, so double the 5, which is 10. Then we go to plus, which is record a new score that is the sum of the previous two. So 5 plus 10 is 15. So what we want to do then is we just want to sum all of these numbers. So it's going to be 5 plus 10, which is 15, plus 15, which is 30. And that's why we get the output of 30. Cool, so we're given a couple more examples, I believe. So we've also got this example. So you can see that we do have negative scores as well. And we can also have operations following one another, rather than number operation, etc. We can see that here too. Example 3, we're given 1 and then C with an output of 0. Because C is invalidate the previous, so we want to start the score at 0, and we then want to add it or decrement back to 0. So in terms of edge cases, there's a few that sort of come to my mind. One would be, can we have a negative score? So if we look at the final example here, where we've got 1 and then we cancel the 1 and we go back to 0. Well, what would happen if we had, say, 1 and then cancel and then -1 or -2, for example? Is that allowed? So that would be an edge case that I would bring up. Another edge case would be a scenario where you are given an empty array of operations. In that scenario, you're going to want to just return a sum of 0, because obviously nothing's happened, no operations have happened, so the score is 0. And then another edge case that I can think of would be a scenario where maybe you go to cancel, so you go to invalidate a previous and there's no previous, or you go to record a double of previous, again no previous, or you use this plus operator and there is only, say, 1 or 0 previous scores. So you just want to validate with the interviewer, will the operations always be valid, which it does say that in the question that the operations will always be valid. So test cases generated such that the answer and all immediate calculated. And that all operations are valid. Cool. Right, so let's get into it. We're going to be using a stack to solve this problem. So what we'll do is we'll declare a stack, which is going to be a integer stack. We'll call it stack. We'll set it equal to new stack. And then what we want to do is we want to loop over each string in operations. So we use a for loop for that. So int I equals 0, I is less than operations.length I plus. And then the first thing that we want to do is we want to check if operations I, so the specific operation, so if operations I dot equals, then we want to apply the following logic. So what we've got these scenarios, so 1, 2 and 3. So there's 3 scenarios that we'll put an if on. So this is 1, 2, 3, and then we want an else. So if, else, if, else, if. Cool. So if the operation is equal to plus, what do we want to do? We want to, so if it's plus, record a new score that is the sum of the previous 2 scores. So here we want to pop the previous 2 scores. So we'll have int v1 for value 1 is equal to stack.pop. And then we'll have an int value 2, call it v2, equals stack.pop. Then we want to put these back onto the stack, so we'll do stack.push v1 and stack.push v2. So I'm going to switch these back round just because if we stack, it'll go back in the exact same order as what we took it off basically. So I think I'm being a bit pedantic, but that's how I'll do it. Then so we push that back on, and then what we want to do is we want to push the sum of, so stack.push the sum of v1 plus v2. Cool, so that is record a new score of the sum of the previous 2, so this should satisfy that. So else if the operation is equal to d, so what do we want to do if it equals d? So if it equals d, we want to record a new score that is double the previous. So to get double, so basically we want to stack.push, and then to get the previous, or the last previous, score, we basically just want to peek on the stack, which is looking at the top of the stack basically. So stack.peek, and then we multiply that by 2, and that is it for this, for when it is equal to d. And then operation I equals c. So when it equals c, what do we want to do? We want to invalidate the previous score, removing it from the record. So this is nice and easy as well. So we just do a stack.pop, which is going to remove it from the stack or from the record. And then if none of these scenarios, if none of these if statements have executed, it means that we have we've got x, a string which we need to store as an integer x. So to do that, we want to do stack.push, and then we do integer.parse int, and we want to pass operations I. Cool, and that is everything to build out the stack. And then to get the sum, what we want to do is we just want to sum all of the integers that we've stored in stack. So to do that, we can use a while loop, and we do while stack is not empty, so stack dot is empty. So while stack's not empty, we want to do, so we need to declare a sum here. So int sum equals 0, and then we will increment to sum. So we'll say sum equals sum plus stack.pop. Cool, so this will just empty the stack and add the value to the previous value of sum, and then finally we just want to return sum. And I believe that should hopefully be the solution that they are looking for. Nope. It's because this should say is empty with a lower. Let's see if it runs now. It does. Brilliant. Now let's submit it and see if it passes the edge cases. It does. Excellent. So in terms of runtime, it says it beats 92.79% in terms of runtime, and it beats 97.89% in terms of memory. I can tell you that the runtime complexity of this solution is O of n, and the memory or the space complexity of this solution is also O of n. It's the optimal solution to this problem, and yeah, I hope that you found this useful and it's clarified the problem for you. If you found this video useful, please click on the like button, it's really going to help me out. And if you'd like to see more videos in the future, click subscribe and the notification bell. And yeah, if you've got any feedback that you'd like to give me, or there's anything that you'd like me to produce in the future, or any questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comments below and I will get back to you. Thank you very much for watching and good luck with your coding.